Okay, managing risk. Let's talk about managing risk. As I mentioned, one of the previous lessons, almost every form of page optimization and link building comes with associated risk. In order to avoid potential problems and or penalties, it's essential that you make every effort to manage that risk effectively. Now, I'm going to be sharing some strategies with you that I use that help me manage and effectively reduce that risk to the point where I know, I'm confident at least, that I'm not going to have any problems. That doesn't mean that we're completely eliminating risk. There's always going to be a level of risk there, which is why we need to manage it. Now, I will say that careful consideration and care should be taken at all times when building links, because you have to remember that your actions could potentially impact someone's livelihood. This is something that I take very, very seriously in my own agency, because a lot of clients that I work with, their online presence that's their livelihood, that's their primary source of income. And if you're providing low quality services and you're just blasting links everywhere and they lose that online presence, this could potentially have a pretty big impact on someone's livelihood, whether it be the business owner directly, their staff, their employees, or even their partners and associates. So you've got to take this really seriously, guys. I'm not quite sure enough agencies actually think this far ahead. But and this is why I push the message that I do around doing the job properly. Now let's talk about anchor text diversity and why it's essential in terms of link building. Firstly, if you've been around long enough to know, in 2012, Google released a really big update called Penguin, and that was essentially targeted at sites overusing exact match anchors. Okay, this is what I mean by over-optimization. This is all part of unnatural link profiles. And essentially this means that they're using exact keywords or commercial terms as the anchor text, pushing back to the target page over and over and over again. And this was really easy for Google to knock this on the head, because typically speaking, that's just not how people link. If 95 or 98% of the inbound links are using the same anchor text, that's a pretty good indication that there's something strange going on. Now this leads me into my next point, which is why diversity is key. In order to avoid potential problems and penalties, we must diversify anchor types. Okay. Now the objective of doing all of this it should be always to emulate a natural link profile with a mixture of brand, long tail, naked URLs, exact match, generic, and related anchors and so forth. All right, let me walk you through a number of different anchor types so you have a better understanding of each. Now let's start with exact match anchor text. The definition of this is simply the anchor text exactly matches a target keyword for which the page is trying to rank. Okay, so if the target keyword is digital marketing services, the anchor text would be digital marketing services. Partial match, a little bit different. This is where the anchor text includes a variation of the target keyword, but isn't an exact match. For example, the keyword, again, using digital marketing services, partial matches might be best digital marketing services or expert marketing services. Okay, phrase match, this is where the anchor text contains the exact keyword as part of a longer phrase. So for example's sake, again, using digital marketing services, we might use anchor text, which might read, learn more about our digital marketing services. This, of course, includes the keyword with a broader phrase. Brand anchor text, fairly self-explanatory. This one uses the brand name as the anchor text. If the target keyword is digital marketing services and the agency providing these services is ABC Digital, the anchor text would be ABC Digital. Generic anchor text, this is where we use non-specific generic terms. So instead of using a keyword or brand, we simply use something generic like click here or read more or visit website. Okay, naked anchor text. This is where we'll use the actual URLs or web addresses of a given site or pages pointing back to the target page. In which case, again, if we were using ABC Digital as the agency providing the services, we might use something like abcdigital.com, www.abcdigital.com, or the full web address. These are referred to as naked anchor texts. Related anchor text, this is where we'll use what commonly referred to in the industry as LSI anchor text, or latent semantic indexing, closely related or topically related terms. So if, again, the target keyword is digital marketing services, related anchors might be something like online marketing services or internet marketing. Long tail anchor text, I'm sure you've all heard of this one. This is where we'll use long descriptive phrases that include the main keyword, often with additional modifiers. For example's sake, again, using digital marketing services as a target keyword, we might use affordable yet effective digital marketing services for small business. Image anchor text, this is something that's not often used, but it is still a strategy, and this is essentially where an image is hyperlinked, and search engines use the image's alt text as anchor text. So if we used an image with the alt text digital marketing tips is linked, this acts as the anchor text. Now, the next thing I want to touch on is the importance of diversifying your anchor text. This is absolutely critical. If you get this wrong, there's no question you're going to end up with some sort of penalty. And usually these are manual penalties that are almost impossible to rectify. So you've got to pay close attention to what I'm about to tell you and use this in conjunction with offset links. This is essentially the way in which I approach any form of off-page optimization, not just guest posting, but I want to say, at least for those of you who have been doing SEO long enough, you'll probably know this already. You've got to diversify your anchor text. Okay, you cannot be simply smashing the same page over and over and over again using the same anchor text. What does that actually mean? And this goes back, like I said just a moment ago, to Penguin 2012, April 24th, 2012, where Google released one of the biggest updates ever and started smashing sites that had unnatural link profiles. So let me show you what an unnatural link profile might look like, and then I'll get into how you want to approach this to avoid these sorts of problems. So again, let's say that the client says, okay, we want to focus on this product or service. And let's say that the product that they're wanting to sell is, let's go with Blue Widgets again, is Blue Widgets. Right. Okay, so we start building links, and because we want to promote this page for Blue Widgets, we make the decision, foolishly, to use the anchor Blue Widgets over and over and over again. Because in our minds, we're thinking, okay, we really want to drive home the importance and relevance of this page and all the links pointing to it using this particular term, right? So we would then go about creating all of these would be guest posts, of course, containing this anchor text, Blue Widgets, and they would all point back to this page. And we repeated that process, right? Every single building cycle, we repeated this process over and over again. And we built, we did this 50 times over. And around and around and around we went. And we just kept doing it over and over and over. You'll find that this page will start to, the search positioning, or rankings rather, if you want to call it that, will start to climb, and then all of a sudden it'll stop, and then it will fall off a cliff. And I've seen this happen over and over again, both myself personally, many years ago, and probably more recently with others in the group that have come to me and said, I've got this problem. What you're doing here is you're over-optimizing. And this is essentially, this is really over-optimization that relates to, off-page and link building. This is the fastest way to get yourself into trouble when it comes to link building. You do not want to do this. You must diversify your anchor text. Okay, so how do we then do that? How do we avoid all of these problems? Okay, because, and I should say this just to clarify my point before moving on. Nobody links like this, right? If you have a page that has 100 links pointing to it and they're all using the exact match anchor, that is an absolute dead giveaway that this page is being smashed with lazy SEO. Low quality SEO service providers use this strategy because who knows why, but it's garbage and it's absolutely dangerous. But they'll just use what they call exact. This is actually called exact match anchor, or targeting commercial terms, right, in your anchors. Now, there's nothing wrong with there's actually nothing wrong with doing either of these, right? And you want to do that, but it needs to be done. It needs to be done in a way that looks more natural, right? So how do we do this? Okay, so let's clean this up, and I'll take you through a better approach that is going to be far more safer, and actually making this work isn't that difficult at all. So again, we're wanting to target blue widgets, but we want to diversify our anchor text. Right now we can reverse engineer our competitors, and I'll show you exactly how to do this in just a minute. We can reverse engineer our competitors to determine, or at least find out, what anchors they have pointing at their pages, and we can gather all of that information up, and we can make selections from those anchors and change them up so that our link profile, or at least our footprint, looks natural. So rather than smashing blue widgets as an exact match anchor over and over again, we might do something like this. We might do best blue widgets. Affordable widgets. Blue widgets here. Blue widgets by ABC. We may even include a naked URL. Right, all of the anchors that I've just covered a moment ago, we could use a variety of those anchors pushing to this page. Right, this is fantastic because that's a great way to diversify. And of course, these are just a few examples, right? I'm going to show you how to, get hundreds of variations of anchors that you can use to push at the page that both hold relevance and are natural in nature, so that they're not likely to send off negative signals to Google and other search engines, in that we're building synthetic links. Okay, let's talk now about de-risking with offset links. So offset links simply refer to links that you build that don't point to the target page. Now, offset links is just a term that I use that I think makes the most amount of sense. And the purpose of these offset links is to diversify inbound link patterns, okay? Because we want to push links to numerous pages within each cycle, not just constantly to the same page, okay? So I'm going to show you what this looks like in just a second. If we've picked a target page and we're wanting to rank for blue widgets and we have a page built out for that, we don't want to use the entire budget each month to drive 100% of those links at that same page, because over time, that will begin to look really unnatural. So I usually apply the 80-20 rule, where 80% of the links push to the blue widgets page, let's say, and 20% push to other pages on site. It might be the home page, a contact about page, or maybe a blog post. Again, the objective here is to emulate a natural link profile to avoid any issues. Okay, we can achieve this by pushing links to a variety of pages instead of just one. All right, let me show you what I mean by offset links. This is very, very simple, this concept. However, it is incredibly important because if you don't follow what I'm about to show you, you're increasing the likelihood of experiencing problems, whether that be de-indexation penalties or otherwise. I just prefer to implement offset links as a means, as I said, of trying my best to emulate a natural link building patterns, right? Because we all know that when it comes to getting links in a natural environment, that they won't all come in simply targeting the same page over and over and over again, right? And this is where the risk lies. And this is why SEO consultants, many SEO consultants make the mistake of just smashing the same page over and over and over again for months on end with links in an effort to try and increase the rankings for that page. That's a problem because, like I said, in a natural environment, that's not usually how sites acquire links, right? If we think about how sites may acquire links in a natural setting, they'll sort of get links at random. They might get one here, they'll get a couple to the home page, they might get one to the contact page, they'll get another few perhaps to a popular blog. But typically speaking, the inbound links are acquired or at least distributed more evenly, right? And this matters because this is what we want to do. This is what we're going to do with our link building efforts when it comes to guest posting. We want to try and emulate that, right? We're less likely to provide signals to Google or any other search engine for that matter that our link building efforts or the way in which the site is acquiring links is artificial. So how do we do that? All right, so let's say that the client has come to us and they said, right, we want to focus on promoting this page here. This product or service is the most profitable. As I said a minute ago, maybe it's worth $5,000. Okay, great. So, and we've got the budget to push, I don't know, let's say we're going to push 10 links. Let's say that we're going to push 10 links a month or per billing cycle at this page, or at least we have the capacity. Let me say that. We've got the budget and the capacity and resources to push 10 links a month wherever we like. Now, I always work to the 80-20 rule, right? This is just what I use. I found it to be safe and effective in that 80% of my budget and the links that I have the capacity to build, 80% of the links that I build actually push at the desired target page. And the other 20, I push them anywhere at random. I might push some brand links to the home page. I might push a link to a blog post, and so on and so on. So if you think about this, right, let's say that I do have the budget to build 10 links a month, right? That means that each billing cycle, I would build 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So if this was one billing cycle, I'd push 8 to the target page and I would push 2 elsewhere. Now, as I said, doesn't really matter. I don't mind where I push the other 2. It can be to the contact page. It might be to the home page for a brand term. It might be to a blog post. It doesn't really matter. Now, I will say that it's not always a set 80-20 rule. Sometimes I might throttle it back and do 70-30, right? I want to change it up. But I don't want to start getting down to 50-50 because then I'm really starting to dilute my efforts, both in terms of time and budget, because it starts to get too thin in that we're sort of, our efforts become a little bit diluted, like I said. And of course, you want to maximize the results or the outcome with the budget that the client has provided you with. So typically speaking, I work on an 80-20 rule overall. Now some campaigns that I've worked on in the past, I've had more than 10. I've had the ability to create more than 10 links. Now this 80-20 rule, and this is why I mention this, if you get up into big numbers, if you have clients that are paying you, I don't know, $10,000 a month, 10K a month, and you have the capacity to build, I don't know, 50 links, right? You'll need to adjust that percentage. You might need to throttle it back to maybe 65-35, because it's not just about set numbers, it's about ratios, okay? And once you start getting up into big numbers, then it can start to look unnatural, even if you are following an 80-20 rule. If you're pushing, I don't know, if we take it to the absolute extreme, 8,000 links at one target page and 2,000 links elsewhere, that's going to start to look a little bit unusual. So this is my thought process. This is the way in which I approach it. The 80-20 rule is simply the method of which I use, and it's served me well. Again, it gives a good balance between de-risking and also ensuring that I get maximum impact out of the client's budget. Now, what I will say, and I'll probably get into this more in an upcoming lesson, but when it comes to offset links, I don't use targeted anchors for these at all. Like if this was, let's say, ABC Plumbing, then, you know, for my anchors, I would just use something like ABC Plumbing and push that to the home page. And I might, you know, just use something like check out this blog as the anchor, right? I'm going to get into this in a moment, but that's another way of de-risking even further by making the anchors that you use look even less conspicuous. The next point that's worth touching on is you can reduce risk by reverse engineering. So if we replicate what works, right, and what do I mean by that? Essentially means, well, there are pages that are ranking for given terms. They must be there for a reason. Well, doesn't make sense to reinvent the wheel. Let's just look and see what they've done. And that's essentially what reverse engineering is all about. Reverse engineering helps guide anchor text usage and works towards emulating a natural link profile. Okay, it also provides a level of confidence in knowing that the anchors we are going to use are similar to what's already working. And I'll walk you through the entire process and show you how to apply this strategy. The bottom line is this: whether you're using guest posting, reverse engineering, any form of link building, you want to always work towards emulating a natural link profile. This is so important, because if you don't, you're going to start getting into over-optimization, building out unnatural link profiles. And when you do that, you're at risk of problems or potential penalties.